Hey there everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of my State of PlayStation Studios series. After last episode's deep dive into Polyphony Digital, whose history spans nearly 3 decades, it felt right to follow up with a short episode on Sony's final acquisition in 2022, Savage Game Studios, who are also the only mobile developer under the PlayStation Studios umbrella. Does Sony have faith in them to help usher in this new mobile vertical for PlayStation? And should you, the customer, be excited on the game they're working on? The short answer seems to be a resounding no to both questions, but unfortunately for Sony, even that negative answer doesn't truly portray just how dire the situation is. So please, like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and allow me to put this disaster into its proper context for you. Savage Game Studios was founded in the summer of 2020 and currently has 2 offices, one in Berlin, Germany and one in Helsinki, Finland. Its co-founders include Najim Ajir and Mike McManus, who were previously at War Gaming, the developer behind the popular online multiplayer game World of Tanks. However, it would be the final co-founder, Mikhail Katkov, who would leave Angry Birds developer Rovio Entertainment to serve as Savage Game Studios CEO. Be sure to remember Katkov's name, as we'll be discussing him in depth later in the video. Due to the pedigree of these co-founders, as well as other employees who had experience at prestigious developers like Rockstar, Savage Game Studios were able to complete a seed round of funding in early 2021, where they raised $4.4 million to help with the development of their unannounced mobile shooter. Unfortunately, there's very little to talk about when it comes to the actual game itself, because even though this seed funding was meant to help Savage double its headcount and release the game in select markets by 2021, it hasn't even been officially announced yet as of July 2023. Savage don't even have a section talking about games on their website, which currently reads more like one giant ad to attract talent to the studio. The only semi-relevant information on there is that they like to make action games with epic stories to foster lasting connections with players around the world. There are also articles quoting Katkov about how mobile shooters are generally a competitive genre due to the popularity of battle royales exploding in 2018. Therefore, Savage will go down the PvE/looter shooter route. As this is an untapped genre in the mobile market, there's an opportunity to stand out amongst gamers who prefer working together in rewarding sessions, as opposed to the high pressure of a PvP environment. That's all we have to go off of, but despite the delay, whatever progress Savage made on the game was obviously enough to pique Sony's interest, as in August 2022, PlayStation not only announced they had acquired Savage Game Studios, but also that the developer would play a big role in the recently formed PlayStation Studios mobile division, headed by Nicola Sebastiani. Again, remember Sebastiani's name. He also plays a big part in this salacious story. So, the date is August 29th, 2022, and Sony has just announced its acquisition of Savage Game Studios via the PlayStation blog. Furthermore, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst has also correctly read the room. He knows that the majority of hardcore PlayStation fans come to the ecosystem for their first-party cinematic single-player experiences, and so anticipated they would feel trepidation towards Sony's renewed interest in the mobile market, as it might cannibalize their output of blockbuster games that makes PlayStation so popular already. Hulst therefore used this blog post to assure them that, like with PlayStation's PC efforts, the acquisition of Savage and their currently unannounced AAA live service mobile game would only expand PlayStation's reach, stressing this new vertical wouldn't result in Sony shifting its emphasis away from the traditional console market. Additionally, Katkov was also quoted for the announcement blog, stating he agreed to acquisition because Hulst and other PlayStation Studios leadership respected their vision for how to operate and how to succeed in the mobile gaming market, which will be even easier now that the 30-person developer has access to PlayStation's extensive library of IP. So crisis averted, right? PlayStation are now properly investing into the mobile vertical of the industry, a market so lucrative that even if one game hits, its revenue generated can help significantly fund the console masterpieces that has the PS5 breaking sales records. And not only will PlayStation Studios take a hands-off approach to let this division achieve this, but it will not take any attention away from the console experience. So why am I so negative? Because the mobile division described in this August 2022 blog post is not the mobile division we have 1 year later. And considering this division was only established in 2021, this is a huge red flag. In June 2023, Nicola Sebastiani, the man who was not only leading Sony's mobile efforts, but was key in PlayStation Studios' acquisition of Savage, announced he was leaving to pursue a new undisclosed opportunity. Then, less than 2 weeks later, Savage's CEO Mikhail Katkov announced his departure from his own studio, citing a need for a better work-life balance and that he would leave the studio in his fellow co-founders' hands as he finds his equilibrium. Something isn't right here.
Games like Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4, once only available on consoles, can now be played on iPhone thanks to A17 Pro. This is the future of mobile gaming, all thanks to the power of iPhone 15 Pro.
I admit, the rest of the video is primarily speculation on my end. There's certainly a chance I'm just reading too much into things, with Sebastiani and Katkov leaving PlayStation within 2 weeks of each other for the exact reasons stated. But for me, these back-to-back executive departures raise red flags for 2 reasons. First off, this is not normal behavior at the executive level, because both are likely leaving PlayStation well within their vesting periods. Sebastiani was at Apple for 8 years, with his last role being the head of content for Apple Arcade, something he was very clearly successful at for Sony to want to poach him in the first place. However, in order to convince Sebastiani to join them, Sony would have had to offer him not just a lot of say within PlayStation's mobile division, but also large financial incentives, including stock options and retirement contributions that would be earned over a long period of time to ensure he stayed put. Yet, considering he was there for less than 2 years, if Sebastiani really did leave on his own accord, he almost certainly walked away from a lot of money, because he would still be well within his vesting period, and the same can be said for Katkov. Again, as the CEO of a company that's just been acquired, a lot of his personal wealth from the acquisition would be tied up in retention bonuses as a financial incentive to not just walk away straight away, as Sony would want to keep Katkov's experience that helped elevate Savage into a position where Sony wanted to acquire them in the first place. This is what happened with Bungie, where approximately $1.2 billion, or roughly a third of the money spent to purchase the Destiny publisher, was to retain the key talent that was knowledgeable on the live service model. Otherwise, Bungie wouldn't be able to help other PlayStation developers on their live service games, which is the main reason Sony acquired Bungie in the first place. Again, as Katkov left Savage less than a year after being acquired, he was almost certainly well within his vesting period, and therefore walked away from a lot of money if he did leave on his own accord. Secondly, considering the executive level positions Sebastiani and Katkov joined Sony at, they almost certainly signed non-competes that would activate if they left. If Katkov really did leave Savage to spend time with his family, there's nothing to discuss here, as he's not joining a rival that would break this clause. However, Sebastiani left Sony to join an undisclosed company at the executive level. Unless the company has nothing to do with mobile games, him quitting Sony to join a rival makes no sense, unless he didn't sign a non-compete clause, which is highly unlikely. So what do I think actually happened?
I was pleased that Sebastiani was the head of content. In other words, he wasn't the head of the monetizing systems. He wasn't the head of features or anything like that. He was dealing with content. He was getting games. And I think that's pretty key because it means that he has all of the pertinent and necessary relationships to bring to bear for Sony in the mobile space. He knows the who's who, and I don't know who's who. I know like Supercell and shit like that, but I don't know like who's making the great Apple Arcade games that people are really like digging. And he knows. And so I think they're getting someone with a lot of product management knowledge, connections, and we have to see what the fruit born out of this is. But I think Dustin's absolutely right too, that why aren't they talking about Wipeout?
It's now established that this isn't a normal series of events. So what do I think most likely took place? Perhaps Sebastiani and Katkov did something so heinous that regardless of their position and talent, they had to leave for the good of the company, but I highly doubt it. I just don't see two executives committing their own individual fireable offense within 2 weeks of each other. Perhaps Sebastiani really just found an opportunity that was too good to pass up, and Katkov really just wants to spend time with his family. It's certainly possible, but again, I just can't see the two most senior executives in PlayStation's mobile division simultaneously leaving that much money on the table by quitting within their vesting periods. There is, however, one aspect I've mentioned but haven't properly discussed, and I think it might be the answer to what really happened. Both Sebastiani and Katkov were replaced by two people. If I had to put money on what really happened, I'd wager PlayStation wasn't happy with how its mobile division had progressed over the past 2 years, and they attributed this failure to both Sebastiani and Katkov having too much on their plates to effectively spin up this mobile division. This is the only scenario where everything makes sense. From a productivity perspective, this division hasn't even publicly announced a game, let alone released one, and the only two mobile offerings from PlayStation during this period was Ultimate Sackboy and Wipeout, both of which were greenlit before this division was established, and even then, were marketed so poorly that even the biggest PlayStation fans don't know they exist. It's not hard to believe that Sony was so unhappy with their mobile offerings, they felt something drastic had to be done to reverse course for the young division. Additionally, by letting Sebastiani go, his non-compete clause would be void, therefore allowing him to join another mobile company, which would be easy for him considering his previous experience at Apple. It also makes sense that this company is currently undisclosed on his LinkedIn page. For Katkov, he himself states his work-life balance wasn't right, which perfectly lines up with two people taking over for him because there was just too much work to do. Look, I could be totally wrong, but this is the scenario that makes the most sense to me. Everything just clicks. Regardless of what really went down though, hopefully these changes lead to good mobile games releasing soon. It's certainly possible. Both Sebastiani's and Katkov's replacements are more than capable due to the previous experience at Kabam, Meta and Wargaming. Furthermore, with two people taking on each position, it not only lessens the workload, but it lessens the power of the position, which I'm sure Sony prefers after taking a hands-off approach since 2021. For us though, hopefully we get to at least see a game soon, but until then, what do you think? Is my speculation unfounded? Do you even care enough about Sony's mobile division to have an opinion? Let me know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one, and have a great day.